the top shelf out there. Happy Saturday, beautiful people. Maybe we should have went live at 6:15. I figure, you know what? My professor canceled class today. I'll go ahead and let everybody sleep in today. Right? All right, so everybody that's been here already, I was doing some updates. And I came over here, clicked back on the live preview, and I saw y'all was coming out. I was like, oh, snap. I'm like, hey, y'all. Then I realized I was commenting from my backup channel. So that is really me, y'all, up there. Then I had to switch over. But anyway, Anita, greetings. Tabitha, shalom, says Shebrew. Hey, girl, hey. Hold on, screen jumping. The Nat, greetings. Dawn, happy, beautiful Saturday. Ema, set up our living key. Hey, girl, hey. Hannah, shalom, shalom. Kendrick, shalom, shalom. Elijah, peace and blessings. And everybody else here hanging out in the background. Happy Saturday. Y'all. Did y'all get the email? A couple people responded. I wasn't sure if everybody realized that I had emailed them back. Fritz, shalom, shalom. But I sent it. Were y'all able to open it up? I figured y'all could open it up because nobody said, hey, I can't open the file. Only like one person said, and I just like resent it. And it was good. So I hope everybody got it. All right, y'all. It is Saturday. Happy Saturday, November the 26th, 2022, day 272 of year 4 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. Another 4-year consecutive day count, day 1292. Today, we are reading in Oahspe one whole book because it's only like 2 chapters. And it is, it starts on page 52. And it's the second book of Lords of the second cycle. And that's 2 chapters. So we're going to read that. And then we're going to get a little bit more in of the field guide to the spirit world. We'll probably finish up this chapter. You know what? Yesterday, we'll finish up this chapter starting on page 122. Y'all know I told you I was going to be kind of following closely the situation that happened here in Chesapeake, right at the Walmart. So they released a little bit more information. I'm like, you know what? This is a classic example from this book, right? So you know how in here, a couple different charts where, let's see, not the big laugh. Well, there was laughter there. But you could probably add him to that chart because somebody said, wow, and, you know, no disrespect to any of the deceased or their families, right? But just kind of lining some of the stuff up with what I know with what happened there. They said somebody said he was laughing while he was shooting. We learned about this in Soul Murder. But also, he said something. Bella! There was a comment he made that they found on his phone. They call it the manifesto on his phone or whatever about why he did it. But you know how in Flight of the Soul and yes, babe. Can I end it? Yes, you can. In Flight of the Soul, I think it's Flight of the Soul and Black Dog Unleashed. You hear a little bit about it, but they say they felt like somebody else took over. Dude actually made a comment relating to that. He said he really didn't want this to happen, but he felt like the Satans have taken over. Hold on, I'm going to read the comment to you. I was like, oh, shoot. Bella! 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 Where'd she go? She probably all the way in. What you call it? Hold on. I got it saved up here. Hold on for a second, Fritz. I think, wait, no, hold on. I think I can pull it up from my laptop because I got it connected. Hold on. New moon has been spotted. Sabbaths have changed to Fridays, y'all. Okay, listen. So this is what he said. And they didn't show all of it. But in there, he said, quote, sorry, everyone, but I did not plan this. I promise things just fell in place like I was led by the Satan, end quote. And that's the young guy, 31 years old, did the shooting at Walmart. So it's lining up with some of the the cases that we're seeing in here, I'm still following it and trying to find out a little bit of his background, what happened to him that caused him to be in this state. Of course, you see in his note they shared some of it, that he was being bullied, so to speak, by other management and stuff like that, allegedly, right? Allegedly. Some of the other things that was found in his note, but I was looking for like key things, and that was one. So he probably had lost time, and whatever had come into him had taken over, because in his note he wrote that he didn't want this to happen. He felt like he was being led by, and it actually said the Satan, right? So I don't know. We'll find out more as the days go on. Auntie Belinda Brown, Graham, Rising, Jamia, Shalom, Shalom. All right, beautiful people. So, Father, we thank you for another wonderful day to learn just a little bit more so we can add to our growth. All right, let me keep it simple like that today. All right, y'all. So, hop over to page 52 in Oahspe. Yeah, so new moon. I know I just said it real quick, but yeah, new moon. It was cloudy here, so I was looking for reports and stuff. But new moon has, the cycle has changed, and it is Fridays now. So Sabbath is on Fridays for the next moon cycle. Right? And it'll be changing again around about the Christmas time period. We'll be looking for the new moon again. All right. So let's start. You're welcome, Vinette. I feel like a private eye detective now, looking into everybody's life. I'm curious. I really am curious about this because it's so close. And the spirits that have gone into chaos, like if there are shards, I don't know what type of shards they have, but I don't know. It's possible that they could be bringing them to here Oahspe now, right? So I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just like looking at all this stuff. Okay, page 52. Second book of Lords of the second cycle, being contemporaneous with the book of Ashong, son of Jehovah. Chapter 1. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome, Shibu. Also, I had a question before I start reading. The movie Endless, I looked on Amazon. I just want to make sure I got the right one. I saw a couple of different ones, so I wanted to make sure I had the right one. So let me know which one it is that y'all recommended, the Endless movie. But I did watch R.I.P.D. R.I.P.D. That's the name of the movie. It's a part 1 and it's a part 2. Somebody mentioned watch Dawn of the Damned. That was good. I actually saw, before I pressed play on watching that, I went and watched the first one, and then I watched the second one, which was the Dawn of the Damned. And it's really, really interesting that they have a whole lot of spiritual truths in there. It's RIPD stands for Rest in Peace Department, right? So what happens is people die and then you go into the spirit world. As soon as they die, they end up at this table with this lady or whoever, wherever their file goes to, right? So they can let them know what next place they go to based on what they did on earth. As soon as it came on, I was like, what? And then they get, depending on what they did, or what they didn't do will determine how long they have to stay. So the ones who got to go back to the earth, they had to be a part of the police crew who helped round up what we would call drooges or demons, right? To get them separated from the earth. It was really, really interesting. If the people didn't read, the people who produced that haven't read Oahspe, they really understand some truth. They really do. Because as you watch that, you will see a lot of what we learned in Oahspe in that movie, part 1 and part 2, right? You got like a certain amount of years you got to spend in this particular department. Different things you didn't learn, like all of this stuff is included in there. I was mind blown. It's really good. Thank you for recommending that, whoever it was yesterday. But yeah, y'all got to go watch it. I'll share the previews just in case you can't find it. It's definitely on Amazon, Tubi, On Tubi. On Tubi? Okay. What is Tubi? I guess it's like a Netflix or something. I'm sure I'll find it. But just give me the right one so I can watch the right movie, so I ain't got to be watching a bunch of movies trying to figure out which one y'all was talking about. Let me know who the producer of it is or something that'll stand out about it, so I make sure I got the right one. Okay. Chapter 1, page 52, second book of Lords. In the beginning, man was naked and not ashamed, but the Lord raised man up and bade him hide his nakedness, and man obeyed and was clothed. And the Lord walked by man for a long season, showing him the way of resurrection. And man was obedient, depending on the Lord for all things. And the Lord said unto man, Behold, I have walked with thee and taught thee, but by my indulgence thou hast neglected to put forth thine own energy. Now I am going away from thee for a season, that thou mayest learn to develop thyself. But lest thou stumble and fall, I leave with thee certain commandments, and they shall be a guide unto thee and thy heirs forever. Hear thou then the commandments of the Lord thy God. Thou shalt love thy Creator with all thy mind and heart and soul all the days of thy life. And thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Because thou wert born into the world without covering, thou shalt clothe thyself. Then inquired man of the Lord, Behold, thou hast shown the ass what is good for him to eat, and the fish, and the serpent, and the lion, every living creature, but man only hast thou not shown. The Lord said, Of everything that groweth up out of the ground that is good to eat, give I unto thee, and they shall be food for thee. But of all things of flesh and blood, wherein is life, thou shalt not eat, for thou shalt not kill. Man inquired of the Lord, Thou hast shown the males and females of all the living. Thou hast shown the males and females of all the living the times and periods to come together. But man and woman thou hast not shown. The Lord said, Thou shalt learn from the beast and the birds and the fish and the female during gestation and keeping of her creator. Thou shalt also respect the times of woman. Man inquired of the Lord, Thou hast shown the bird how to build her nest, and the carnivore how to scent the subtle track of his prey, and the spider to weave his net. But as to the manner of man's house, as to herbs that are good or poisonous, thou hast not shown man. The Lord said, All the instinct that is in the bird, or beast, or fish, or insect, or creeping thing was created with them, but man was created blank. And yet man shall attain to more subtle senses than any other living creature. Man inquired, How shall man attain to these? The Lord answered, Serve thy Creator by doing good unto others with all thy wisdom and strength, and by being true to thine own highest light, and all knowledge shall come to thee. So the Lord left man for a season to himself, and man so loved the earth, and whatsoever ministered unto his ease and to his flesh desires, that he fell from his high estate, and great darkness came upon the earth, and man cast aside his clothes and went naked and became carnal in his desires. Chapter 2. The Lord went abroad over the earth, calling, Come to me, O man, behold, thy Lord is returned. But man heard not the voice of the Lord, for by man's indulgence the spirit of man was covered up in his own flesh. Ooh. Listen, I know I just said this to y'all. Let me finish reading this. Okay. But man heard not the voice of the Lord, for by man's indulgence the spirit of man was covered up in his own flesh. The Lord sent his Lewis, masters of generations, angels, next in rank above guardian angels, i.e. Ashars, to the Ehines, and they raised up heirs unto the Lord. By controlling the parentage of the unborn, brought they into the world a new race of men, of the same seed and blood as of old, and these heard the voice of the Lord. And the Lord said unto man, Because thou kept not my commandments, Thou hast brought affliction upon thyself and thy people to the farthest ends of the world. Now will I raise thee up once more and deliver the tribes of men from darkness into light. And the Lord delivered man into wisdom and peace and virtue. And the earth became as a garden of sweet-smelling flowers and luxurious fruit. The Lord said, How sayest thou, O man? Shalt thou still have a keeper? And man said, Behold, I am strong and wise. And man said, Behold, I am strong and wise. Go thou away from the earth. I understand thy commandments. The Lord inquired, Knowest thou the meaning of love thy creator? And man said, Yea, Lord, and to love my neighbor as myself, and to do good unto others with my all highest wisdom and strength. Yea, I have the all highest light. I am wiser than the ancients. Behold, I want no Lord nor God. I am the highest product of all the universe. The Lord said, I will try thee, O man. I will go away for a season. So the Lord departed once more. A man had nothing to look up to, so he looked at himself and became vainglorious. And the tribes of men aspired to overcome one another. War and destruction followed. Man forgot his creator. He said, No eye seeth me, no ear heareth me. And he neglected to guard himself against the serpent, corporality. And the serpent said unto him, Partake thou of all things, for they are thine. And man gave heed. And lo and behold, the race of man descended into utter darkness. And man distinguished not his sister or mother, and woman distinguished not her brother or father. And God beheld the wickedness of man, and he called out, saying, Hear my voice, O man, hear the voice of the Lord. But because of the darkness of man, he could not hear the voice of God, his Lord. And the Lord sent his angels down to man, that they might appeal to man's understanding. But the angels loved darkness also, and strove not to lift man up out of darkness.
Just in our bathroom.
Okay, that's fine.
But no one is in the other bathroom.
Okay. And the Lord sent his angels down to man, that they might appeal to man's understanding. But the angels loved darkness also, and strove not to lift man up out of darkness. And the Lord was of no more avail amongst mortals, and he departed away from the earth. And man became on earth as a harvest that is blighted and rotten because of its rankness. End of the second book of Lords. And why I stopped a couple seconds ago when I was like, oh, in the Nazarene Genesis story, it goes into a little bit of detail about some things that happened in the garden. Now I understand what Oahspe says, but it's interesting the way they lay things out in regards to the spirit and how the flesh was before man began to consume meat. It talks about how the bodies were bodies of light. They were like really light, and evil couldn't come in. Well, they was using the character of Satan or whatever. Satan was coming in, tempting man to eat that which he shouldn't eat. And it began to explain in there that you can't, like, evil can't come in to a light body. But anytime it begins to consume flesh and blood, it causes the body to grow dense. And it explains how it will also make the spirit heavy. And by doing that, it allows, matter of fact, it actually says, the more you eat of it, the easier it is for other entities to inhabit your body. It really gives a lot of detail about that. And I thought that was really, really interesting. It's a different, not different. We learn about it. Hold on. There you go. Don't get a lot. Just get a handful. It's not a different tape, but no, Pootie, get that little small bowl. It breaks it down in a different way than what we've seen before, but it's telling you the same thing. And we've been talking about it anyway, right? Even when you rise, if you're a meat eater, when you leave here, you're gonna spend some time hovering in the first heaven, if not on the earth, right? It actually goes into a lot of detail. Hold on, let me see something real quick. Let me see if I can some of the, I thought this was real interesting. Hold on, Tootie. Hold on. I just got to find out what page this is. That way y'all can jump right to it. Girl, you got all this stuff open. Just gave it to you. Hold on. Let me see if I can give y'all the page number so y'all can go in and look at it. Because I don't think I'm going to be able to read it. Let me see. Hold on. I just thought about this. I was glancing over it again yesterday. Hold on. So I got it right here. My Dean, Infinite Light and Love. Send them to me. You got some books for me to investigate? Send them to me. Okay. I'm telling y'all where to go to. Oh, yeah. Chapter 8. Page 45. When you scroll through, look for page 45, right? And it talks about that. Matter of fact, I ain't gonna read it word for word, but I'm gonna just bring out some things so you go looking for it. It starts in chapter 8. It's a short chapter, but keep on going. Therefore, Lucifer would pretend that he was God. He would call himself Yahweh and tell them that he was their creator. He would establish the priesthood of the serpent on this world, which is the satanic priesthood of the dark path. Remember the sacrifices and stuff, what Israel was doing? They were being tricked. Listen. Lucifer communed with his master, Satan, and behold, the voice of the serpent spoke within Lucifer, saying, let my priests mix good with evil, for it is in robes of good that I shall dress my seeds. And only one thing is truly needful to enslave mankind. He must be made to eat the flesh of animals. For then can we enter his body and enjoy his senses. Yea, we can whisper in his head, and he will believe that our words are his own thoughts. No matter if his scriptures declare love one another, listen to this. No matter if his scriptures declare, quote, love one another, end quote, as long as he eats flesh, he will be unable to follow those words. And yet, because we mix those good words into his scriptures, our religion of blood sacrifice is made more palatable to the young souls we wish to ensnare.
No.
Listen. Satan continued to speak in the head of Lucifer, saying, Adam and Eve must not eat from the tree of life, else they will know eternal life and be out of our dominion. For should they eat only of the tree of life, their bodies will become perfected light, and they will ascend the golden ladder and will not die. And it goes into a lot more detail about all of this, right? Go ahead. What was you at right here? Girl, close all of this stuff. Like I just gave it to you. How you got all this stuff open?
It didn't get on my daughter yet.
Okay. Go ahead. Close all that and go that. Okay, go ahead. Close all that. Yes. But that's just a little bit of it. The Nazarene book of Genesis, right? So read through all of this, y'all, and just put everything on the table. You decide. Yes, the Holy Megillah. Here. I can't like read it like word for word, all of that because of copyright things, right? But get this, email me, right? It's chapter 8. What I just read from is chapter 8, verses 29, and then I read verse 32 to 36 and verse 38. And listen, okay, read that. Just go there. It's on page. I want to read just a little bit more, but it gives a lot of little detail, things that like we already knew, we tested, like we know flesh is bad and we know how it makes the spirit heavy. It destroys the body, but it also makes you spiritually dense and you can't hear, right? So it's also called the secret Nazarite scroll, right? So just people. Yes. Okay, hold on. Nature and Spirit Beings, Their Activity in Our Visible World, Nature, Spirits by Rudolf Steiner. Thank you. I'm going to look into them. Yes, that was chapter 8, Jamia, in the Holy Megillah, Go to page, what I say, 45? I said 46. Yeah, page 45. But it goes into a whole lot more, talking about masquerading and playing the part of creator, fooling people. I'm just trying to sum it up for you. Fooling people that the creator is speaking, but when you begin eating meat, you can't tell the difference, and you end up following these other entities and stuff, right? The creation of our world, Abraham and Sarah, like all of this. So that's something y'all look into today, right? Get through that the Nazarene book of Genesis. It's really, really good. And that's just that ain't nothing what I just shared with y'all. I'm so excited about that. All right. You're almost up to that chapter in your personal reading. Elijah, you've been reading since I sent it to you, ain't you? He said, I'm almost up to that chapter in my personal reading. Keep going. You're welcome, Ema. Okay. All right, we're going to figure out a way. I'm going to be checking in with to see, because the elders in Kenya, they're going to release their own official copy, because like they said, and it tells you from the electronic version that I sent to you, there's a snippet there on why they leaked this, because that was taken, not necessarily taken, it was, they got it from Kenya, the elders in Kenya that keeps control over the scrolls. Somebody was sleeping on their job, right? Somebody else got it translated and they put it out, called it the Holy Megillah, right? So, but what they did also, they took some scrolls and they said they put them together in one book, which shouldn't be together, right? So they're working on all that. And I'm super excited for when they actually make that available. I'm not even sure how long that's going to be, especially because of this whole lawsuit that they got going on because of it. So I don't know. So just email me though, because I'm not sure when you'll actually be able to get another copy of it, because they took the YouTube down, he took the web page down, the actual translator of this that actually puts it out. And I called them again yesterday, and I didn't really expect anybody, because it's, you know, federal holiday or whatever. I didn't really expect anybody to answer, but I'm gonna give it a few days up until next week now, before I call again and email and stuff, see if I can get a response. All right. Been trying to get this book since March. Now I can read, and I can already see the Oahspe in the first few chapters, right? You got to get it. Email me, y'all. All right. So let's go. Field Guide to the Spirit World. Page 50. No, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong one. Page 122 is where we paused at. Let me see. Do I want to go back a paragraph? I think I will. Let's go back to page 120. Let's go back to page 120. Just kind of keep all this together. We got a little bit of time today. So let's go back here. The 360-degree knowledge. Keep on reading. And yeah, keep on reading. And if y'all haven't, would it be good to read with that as well, to get some deeper insight of what he means by that? The 360-degree knowledge. Get Black Root Science, not just if you're Black, but whatever nationality you are. Get that. Read through that, because you will see, if you haven't read it, you will see a lot of truths in that as well that lines up with what we read in Oahspe and what we read, what you'll come to see that you're going to find when you read through the Holy Megillah, right? There's a lot of different things. It's just different people explaining these same truths. Right, so it's really, really interesting. You can I said I was gonna post that yesterday too. Come on, took my other pen upstairs. Hold on. And you can buy that from Amazon, Black Root Science. They got PDFs as well. I'm gonna share the PDFs, and the YouTube version, but it looks like this. Don't get all freaked out, y'all, by the covers and stuff. Remember, we're putting everything on the table. Yes, Black Roots Science. This is volume 1. This is volume 2. Don't be like, oh my gosh, Egyptology. It has nothing to do with that, right? I think this picture is just a gatekeeper to keep out people who ain't really searching for real, Get this, right? Get it, right? Get it. And once you go through it, while you're looking at all this information, you're going to clearly begin to see why, because that even talks about diet and how the body is transformed through. Matter of fact, that's in the second volume. It talks you how the body is transformed with certain foods. Yeah, the sacredness, it starts off with chapter 1, the sacredness of food, right? You got to get it. Just trust me on that one. Okay. Excuse me. Get it, then you decide after you go through the information. Okay. Page 120. All men go to spirit at death and become angels, but angels of all characters and grades, including guardian angels, which are Ashars, matchmaking angels, which are Lewis, materializing angels, which are Sargis, and others who work for the upliftment of souls, as well as bad angels, devas or demons, lusters, angels of secret vice, chaotics, deranged angels, and druhas. The Ashar's job is to make a record of every mortal, of the grade of his wisdom and of goodness, and when that mortal dies and his spirit is delivered, his record is delivered with him into the S world. And right here is where I remind you again, that movie R.I.P.D. Part 1 and Part 2 is really, really good. They actually go through this whole process. When you die, then you show up with your folder. They literally got a file like, I've read your file. And you, yeah, there's nothing in your file about this. Yeah, so you need to go here, right? But we'll give you an option. Kind of redeem yourself. Make up for something. But the time period when you go here is 100 years. You got to spend 100 years here to be able to redeem yourself to move to the next level. It's really, really good. So watch that R.I.P.D. And I'll share that too. Y'all get a chance. If y'all got a long weekend and y'all can get it in. I'm telling you, it's going to help. It'll help you get some visuals. Not that they are the visuals, but as good as Hollywood can get, they give you something to kind of put everything into perspective a little bit. And I thought it was really good for that. Okay. The Ashar's job is to make a record of every mortal, of the grade of his wisdom and goodness, and when that mortal dies and his spirit is delivered, his record is delivered with him to the S world. The grade of a man, or for that matter of a nation, can be measured on a scale from 1 to 99, the latter being the highest possible grade, while grade 1 is the lowest. All the great prophets, from Zarathustra to Joshua, Jesus, were above grade 90. As Justin Titus, 1971, page 148 and 31, put it, quote, "The elevator to heaven is not running. Take the stairs, the grades. Eventually, every man must climb those grades and develop strength, purity, love, and power through the exertion that comes through climbing," end quote. The many factors combine to establish one's personal grade. The scheme is essentially a measure of goodness, of benevolence, of service to others. Grade 1 represents complete selfishness, while grade 99 represents the highest degree of selfishness. In fact, the tetracts of the ancients define Satan, is lowercase sa, apostrophe T-A-N, and in parentheses is Satan with a capital S. In fact, the tetracts of the ancients define Satan as the most pernicious of man's inclinations, and its oldest translation was, quote, selfishness per se, end quote. That's what Satan was understood to be back in the day, before it took on the form of a character and a person that people are actually looking at and afraid of with horns and a pitchfork. It was really selfishness. There is nothing complicated or abstract or metaphysical in this philosophy. It is as straightforward as a simple act of kindness or malice. crime analysts, quote, believe the psychopath is fundamentally a self-absorbed person motivated by a global attitude of selfishness, end quote. Kerwin, 1997, page 88. Selfishness is, according to Dr. Nandor Fodor, the ultimate key to malign overshadowing, for he defines, quote, possession as an invasion of the living by a discarnate spirit for the purpose of selfish, emphasis added on selfish, for the purpose of selfish gratification by the spirit, end quote. As one overshadowed individual experienced it, the entity harassing her, quote, doesn't feel malicious, just selfish, end quote. Sagan, 1997, page 17. And by the same token, one criminologist explained that women who kill their own children, quote, are all self-involved. The babies mean nothing, end quote. Like Marie No, who killed 8 of her own babies. Quote, the babies cried all the time and was getting on my the baby cried all the time and was getting on her nerves, end quote. Glatt, 2002, page 169 and 67. The same philosophy moves our smartest psychic readers to declare that, quote, spiritual growth is synonymous with service to others, end quote. Maury, 1988, page 66. Again, there is nothing mystical about it. Quote, as these grades are on earth, so they are in the heavens thereof, and in all cases, they depend on what one does for others, end quote. Emphasis added, emphasis added on what one does for others. Oahspe, Book of Judgment, chapter 9, verse 16. We ourselves determine our rank in the here and hereafter according to our capacity to unfold others, to lift them up, to give joy or comfort. Self-improvement, realization, and all personal enhancement may be ideals of the new age, but being almost exclusively self-absorbed have little to do with the soul's actual progress. Indeed, among the highest grades, responsibility is felt for all who are beneath. Quote, did not the Great Spirit make all things by giving, end quote, said Confucius, a.k.a. Caillou, Oahspe, Book of Safa, Tablet of Benin, chapter 16. Tablet of Benin, verse 16. All right, so also there is a...
Here's what I found.
Girl, be quiet. Ain't nobody talking to you. There is it's like a picture frame on page 122, and it's figure 5.4, right? Right here. Miss Amazing Wonder, shalom, shalom. Well, that's good, Elijah. This would explain certain heavenly records sealed within certain regions in the earth. Jamil said we just have to find them, prove them, apply them, and share them. Right? I know. Faith is on the ride. Yeah. I'm excited. I'd be so glad when they make this public where we can like freely share this. As soon as they say we can freely share this, I ain't gonna say we're gonna stop what we're doing, but as soon as we get done reading whatever it is we're gonna be reading at that point, I'm bringing in the Holy Megillah and we're gonna read it out loud. Look. All right. Right here, and this little picture frame says, my highest worlds are responsible for the lowest, being bound unto one another through me. Book of Spencer Armige, First Book of God, Ark of Bond. And that's what that says inside of this picture frame. And under it is figure 5.4, another verse that amplifies the meaning, quote, inasmuch as ye raise up them that are beneath you, so will I send them who are above down to you to raise you up also, end quote. Oahspe, Book of Fragapati, chapter 15, verse 14. So as long as you keep raising people up for their betterment, right? Not being selfish, you will keep being raised up as well, right? So there's a continual growth for everybody. While you're pouring out, to others so they can grow, you're being poured into by higher light so you can continue growing, right? And as you continue growing, you can help people continue growing because you have a higher light now, right? Everybody will continue to ascend. Okay. Go back to page 123 under that first paragraph with the quote, excuse me. Quote, I believe that a life well lived is a journey toward selflessness. It begins with the importance of self and ends with the importance of others. End quote. Roger DePue, Between Good and Evil. Quote, I created man to enter heaven as helpless as he entered earth life and dependent on those above him so that he might comprehend the unity between high and low, strong and weak, light and darkness. And I placed him in my meals where he would learn that even as others grind for him, so should he grind for those beneath him, because they stoop from their high estate in order to promote my children. Are they not becoming more one with me? And those who follow my example, raising the low to make them have joy in life, are on the road to attain to all power, wisdom, and love. End quote. And that's found in Oahspe, Book of Off. Book of Off, APH, chapter 8, verses 27 through 29. Quote, in the spirit world, our gospel is good works and no other. Good works must be done unto others before the spirit can rise. End quote. Newbro, 1874, page 48. Quote, nor have I provided resurrection in this world or in my heavens above, except by good works done to others, and not because of any worship or confession done before any idols. Nor is there any redemption in heaven to the Brahmins, Buddhists, Christians, or Mohammedans because of their prayers and confessions. But whatever good works have resulted in lifting the people up out of misery and crime. End quote. Oahspe, Book of Judgment, chapter 3, verses 24 through 26. Thus spake Zacchaeus, a.k.a. Buddha, quote, consider then what you can do that will raise you in spirit, for this is resurrection. First, to purify yourselves. Second, to do all the good you can. And third, to affiliate, practicing sharply the convictions of the heart. Without these, there can be no resurrection. End quote. That's found in Oahspe, God's Book of Ezra, chapter 30, verse 17. Okay, and so the next page on 124, you see Zacchaeus of India. Is figure 5.5. Buddha, a.k.a. the prophet Zacchaeus, circa 500 BCE. So remember, we don't really know about the picture drawings and all that stuff, right? But as he drew, that's what he drew. All right. Okay. Quote, consider your, this is good. Consider your corporal body as a ship in which your spirit is sailing across a wide sea of water. It is better that your spirit learns to acquire strength while it has a corporal body to ride in. For after death, it floats willy-nilly in the direction you have shaped it. Neither do you have power to go against the current. Let me read that again. And then I give you where it's found at in Oahspe. Okay. Consider your corporal body as a ship in which your spirit is sailing across a wide sea of water. It is better that your spirit learns to acquire strength while it has a corporal body to ride in. For after death, it floats willy-nilly in the direction you have shaped it. Neither do you have power to go against the current. End quote. Oahspe, Book of Judgment, chapter 13, verse 33. And there are perks to learning this lesson early. Quote, whatsoever service he did in mortal life shall stand to his credit twofold in spirit. End quote. Oahspe, Book of Divinity, chapter 5, verse 8. And you can see this in that movie R.I.P.D. I thought they did a really good job with making this movie on conveying some spiritual lessons, things that we have learned about through Oahspe and other materials, right? And just even by observance. The perks, the perks are also in the here and now, as W.E. Butler, 1978, page 227, once observed, quote, most people find that to be able to help others gives them an increased pleasure in living. Howsoever, this basic urge in man is often smothered beneath a coat of selfishness and egotism, but every now and then it shows itself, end quote. Souls, in short, rise or resurrect in accordance with their own efforts, and their progress is ever upward from one heaven to the next. These heavens above the earth extend outward on higher and higher plateaus, separate belts, as it were, some 1,000 miles high. The ongoing journey has been called eternal progression. Hence the hidden meaning of Jacob's ladder and the staircase glyph so often seen in the ancient pictographs. Also, when it refers to the ladder of golden light, it refers to a couple things when it's talking about that, because you can see it is represented in your body. It's also known as the chakras, but it's also the ladder of golden light, right? You can just see it on multiple levels once you begin to understand it, right? Jacob's ladder, pineal, wrestling, all that stuff. The ongoing journey has been called eternal progression. Hence the hidden meaning of Jacob's ladder and the staircase glyph so often seen in ancient pictographs. Indeed, the afterlife, the heaven world, is stratified, hierarchical, consisting of separate spheres. And after spheres, it has an asterisk. And down at the bottom, it says, by the asterisk, although modern man has not been schooled in the hierarchy of cosmic administration, anthropologists have observed numerous third world cultures that subscribe to this layered pattern of the afterworld. Haitian cosmology, for one, has the Vodun pantheon arranged in a, quote, hierarchical order of spirits, end quote. Davis, 1985, page 44. The same can be said of Malaysian and Brazilian doctrines, which are wonderfully elucidated in Vincent Crapazano's Case Studies in Spirit Possession, 1977, page 322 and 335 through 40. Go back up. Okay, and I'll reread this sentence. Indeed, the afterlife, the heaven world, is stratified, hierarchical, consisting of separate spheres. One newly arrived in the first sphere happened to send an ADC, posthumous message, to his loved ones. He said, quote, there are other places to visit in the spirit world. It is not like heaven as one would think. It seems that there are different spheres where people who think alike reside. End quote. Van Praag, 2003, page 33. To explore heaven, we must begin at the bottom, the very bottom of the heap. Closest to the earth is the region anciently known as Hada, expressed in the Greek word Hades, or in Christian terms, hell. Hada essentially is hell, at least 15 miles above the surface of the earth. Oh, it is a place, all right, not just a condition. In his daring out-of-body experiments, Robert Monroe traversed a place he called Locale 2, and it gets into a lot of detail about this if y'all go and look into his stuff. And I said I was going to share a few things yesterday that I didn't share. The day just got away from me. I'm sorry. I'm going to make sure I do this today. I'm going to re-share this because I shared it before. That way, if you missed it before and you don't know what in the world I'm talking about, I'll post it freshly. I promise I'm going to post it today. I really am. Okay. Hada essentially is hell, at least 15 miles above the surface of the earth. Oh, it is a place, all right, not just a condition. In his daring out-of-body experiments, Robert Monroe traversed a place he called Locale 2, quote, a gray-black hungry ocean where the slightest motion attracts nibbling and tormenting beings, end quote. This, he thought, must be, quote, the borders of hell, end quote. Monroe aptly describes the denizens of Locale 2 as fish-like and himself as bait, for it is also known as the plateau of animal creation. Monroe, 1971, pages 120 through 121. Here abides the lowest grades, the Druhas who wander in darkness with no understanding of and less interest in spiritual things. So go back to this cross. Where did I see that cross at? Oh, for it is also known as the plateau of animal creation. After creation, there is a little cross after creation, and down at the bottom, the little cross says, Justin Titus, a Christian, then faithist minister, 1976, pages 34 through 35, 2, thinks that, quote, all undeveloped people are really human animals, and when viewed from a higher spiritual light, they appear as animals. Such persons gravitate to the animal plane of life provided by a wise creator for the maturation of unripe spirit people. The animal plane is a sort of sub-basement kindergarten. That's interesting. That might be in our title today, sub-basement kindergarten. I mean, you got some remedial classes to take, buddy. 100 years here before you can go any further. Okay. Let me read this again. This, he thought, must be, quote, the borders of hell. Monroe aptly describes the denizens of Locale 2 as fish-like and himself as bait, for it is also known as the plateau of animal creation. Monroe, 1971, pages 120 to 121. Here abides the lowest grades, the Druhas, who wander in darkness with no understanding of and less interest in spiritual things. British Canadian researcher Joe Fisher inadvertently became acquainted with Hada, describing it as, quote, thickly peopled dead zone just beyond the frontiers of physical existence, the lower astral realm, a gloomy cesspool of the dead, peopled by the spirits of those who have lived base, ignorant, or selfish lives, end quote. Ooh. Fisher, 2001, page 272 to 273. All of this is in contrast to the higher locales, like the celestial city seen by the Elohis. Quote, its grid work of lights are not formed from street lamps, but are the soul lights of millions, soul, S-O-U-L, lights, but are the soul lights of millions of consecrated angels set among iridescent alabaster libraries and temples and meeting houses that cover the countryside. They are every bit as real, alive, and busy as those of any mortal city, but exalted and purified as they lie nestled throughout the many plateaus of the firmament, end quote. And when I read this, I think about what it says in, I think it's in Revelation, where it talks about how the city of God is, and I'm just like summing it up, that there will be no need for any sun there, right? Because God is the light, right? And technically that would be true, because as you develop into gods, and if you are a true God walking in light with Creator, you are light. You're pure light. There would not be need for any artificial, because you are light. Even the Holy Megillah explains this, right? You are light. It's interesting. All this is in contrast to higher locales like the celestial city seen by the Elohis. Quote, its grid work of lights are not formed from street lamps, but are the sole lights of millions of consecrated angels set amongst iridescent alabaster libraries and temples and meeting houses that cover the countryside. They are every bit as real, alive, and busy as those of any mortal city, but exalted and purified as they lie nestled throughout the many plateaus of the firmament. End quote. The Elohis publication, Radiance, special session, April 1985, page 28. Others who have ventured into the astral realm have come upon cities. Conan Doyle, for one, in a rare OBE, or out-of-body experience, encountered what he called, quote, a probationary city, end quote, with instructors. Just above Hada, this is the first resurrection, the place where one receives his primary education in S, or the spirit world, but only when he quits his aimless existence below and voluntarily enlists in the, quote, organic, end quote, kingdoms, which also reminds me, like, you can choose. You can enlist here, or you just gonna kind of be, you can go to one of these jails. And in there, they show you, for those who accept the mission to enlist in the army, we call it the Army of Light, to help round up the Druhas or the demons who are on earth infiltrating, because they can actually disguise themselves, i.e. demon possession, inside of people, other living people's bodies, right? You can go help us round them up, or you can join them behind bars until we get them out of here. It's really, really good movie. Dawn, you got the app. Monroe Institute has an app that I use. Love it. Girl, it's the bomb, ain't it? Listen, I was looking at their training program on how to do this. I'm like, you know what? That's in the line of what we're doing. It'll definitely help me help others. Like, I'm really interested in stuff like that. Okay. I'll say, let's go back before I get off track talking about that. Well, not off track. It has to do with all of this. Hold on. Okay. Others who have ventured into the astral realm have come upon cities. Conan Doyle, for one, in a rare OBE, encountered what he called, quote, a probationary city, end quote, with instructors. Just above Hada, this is the first resurrection, the place where one receives his primary education in S, but only when he quits his aimless existence below and voluntarily enlists in the, quote, organic, end quote, kingdoms. Now he is treated like a newborn spirit, an Easian, and is covered in a comforting birth blanket and attended by celestial nurses and physicians. A few ABCers have spoken of this awakening. A fellow named Claude passed away and described regaining consciousness inside some sort of hospital and asking a doctor where he was. The doctor explained that he had left his physical body. Indeed, Oahspe, off chapter 9, verse 3, and Leka, chapter 23, verse 18, details how, quote, schools and hospitals and nurseries are adapted to receive those of the first resurrection. Teachers and nurses and physicians deliver them out of darkness. Yea, every one of them shall become as a star of glory in heaven, end quote. And right under that, there is a figure. It shows two figures, like a stick figure, like falling back, and one lying down. This says this, but also this. These mean the same thing. Okay, everybody can see that. These mean the same thing, right? This is also this. And this is figure 5.7. And it's a sign of Easian, an infant spirit. Okay? Page 127. Once restored, the new inhabitant of S begins his explorations and his education. He learns the rights and discipline of the intermediate world, as well as its amusements, excursions, festivals, sports, concerts, music, dancing, and so on. Depending on his progress, he may spend 50 or 500 years here, laboring in factories, training at special centers, or attending college. Granting a peek at the other side, clairvoyant John Edward, quote, was shown a college campus, a series of large buildings, the largest one referred to as the Hall of Knowledge, end quote. Edward, 2004, page 152.
Okay, I found this on the web for a series of large buildings. The large...
She's so nosy. I wasn't talking to her. Other spirit travelers have spoken of, quote, huge systems of education, huge laboratories and institutions on the other side. Fuller, 1986. Oahspe exalts, quote, their libraries of records of valorous and holy deeds, a council chamber of 500,000 souls, hundreds of departments, thousands. Here, a board to select young students to the colleges of messengers, another board to select students to the colleges of arts, another to select students to mathematics, another for prophecy, another for factories, another for compounding and dissolving elements. Then come the department of the cosmogony of the stars, then of the ethereal worlds, then the roadways of the firmament, end quote. Oahspe, Book of Osiris, chapter 7, verses 1 through 3. Apprenticeships run the gamut for the art and science of cosmic travel and food production to painting, marching, and other skills. The students may be trained as craftsmen, nurse assistant, physician assistant, restoring spirits in chaos and delivering them from the hells of Hada. The trainee graduates in turn to full ranking nurse, full rank of physician, then maker of fabrics, transporter of food, then creative, learning how to create, then science, college, and architecture. Finally, he is eligible to enter the school of light and darkness, after which his labor in building and propelling heavenly boats. Oh, I skipped a word. Finally, he is eligible to enter the school of light and darkness, after which his labor is in building and propelling heavenly boats. Oahspe, Book of Divinity, chapter 3, verses 16 through 29, for short and long distance travel. But it is not all sunshine. Jammed into the first resurrection are the Christian heaven, the Mormon heaven, the Buddhist heaven, and so forth, down to every cult and sect and dogma claiming divinity, salvation, or instant enlightenment. Who would have thought that the Christian heaven is found in hell? I'm going to read that again. Boy. But it would make sense, right? That you go to where you gravitate to it. Listen. But it is not all sunshine. Jammed into the first resurrection are the Christian heaven, the Mormon heaven, the Buddhist heaven, and so forth, down to every cult and sect and dogma claiming divinity, salvation, or instant enlightenment. Indeed, the first resurrection is like a huge city, extremely crowded compared to the upper regions. Most arrive here quite ignorant of a spirit life. Quote, really, amongst us in the spirit world, there are more of these than the sands of the sea, end quote. Newbro, 1874, question number 20. So after a huge city, extremely crowded compared to the upper regions, there's another asterisk. So the asterisk at the bottom says, of the wise and good who strive for continual elevation, how few compared to the whole, yet such is the relative proportion of angels of light and angels of darkness, and thus hath it ever been, end quote. Oahspe, Book of Discipline, chapter 3, verses 14 through 15. Okay, so let me go back. I'm going to read this again. Oahspe College University, shalom, shalom. True, right? Oahspe College University said the Christian heaven was booming before, but the grades of heaven started to drop down. It did. Clearly, we see that from what we're reading now when we started over. It's showing us how the highest heaven became like the lowest heaven as they began to develop earth and stuff, right? Okay. But yeah, we in Field Guide to the Spirit World on page 128. But let me go back to the bottom of page 127, the bottom paragraph. But it is not all sunshine. Jammed into the first resurrection are the Christian heaven, the Mormon heaven, the Buddhist heaven, and so forth, down to every cult and sect and dogma claiming divinity, salvation, or instant enlightenment. Indeed, the first resurrection is a huge city, extremely crowded compared to the upper regions. Most arrive here quite ignorant of a spirit life. Really, quote, really, amongst us in the spirit world, there are more of these than the sands of the sea. End quote. Newbro, 1874, question number 20. As long as 7,000 years ago, the gods and angels were cautioned, quote, be thou careful of too much leniency toward the spirits in the first resurrection. Suffer them not to abide with mortals as teachers. Remember that mortals so love their dead kindred, they would even deprive them of heavenly education for the sake of having them around, just as the spirits of the recently dead so love their mortal kindred that they would seek no higher heaven than to linger around them on earth, which habit groweth upon them, so that in 2 or 3 generations they become druhas, worthless to themselves, knowing little of earth and less of heaven. End quote. Oahspe, Book of Fragapati, chapter 34, verse 17. So if any of y'all hanging around, y'all need to go ahead and get up out of here. Don't be hanging around here. Listen, so remember, they said in how many? Which habit groweth upon them, so that in 2 or 3 generations they become druhas, worthless to themselves, knowing little of earth and less of heaven. And remember, according to Oahspe, one generation is 33 years, right? So in 2 or 3 generations, so within 66 to 99 years of them hanging around here on earth, they become absolutely worthless. Not only that, but they forget who they are. They forget that they were once human, and they forget that they should not be lingering around here. They should be moving on. But because of the sake of their kindred, and you got some Ashars that then kind of laxed on their rules and stuff, and they let them come back too soon, and they just stick here and they engraft themselves, and then they just become worthless. And then the family line just degrades, right? Because you got some people in your family that you would label, she crazy. She done lost her mind. I don't know what happened. After such and such died, she ain't never been the same. Or I can almost guarantee you that such and such hasn't grafted themselves on them. Think about it, right? And after 2 or 3 generations, they become hold on. Let me read all that again. Go back up. As long as 7,000 years ago, the gods and angels were cautioned, quote, be thou careful of too much leniency toward the spirits of the first resurrection. Suffer them not to abide with mortals as teachers. Remember that mortals so love their dead kindred, they would even deprive them of heavenly education. Lord, bring them back. Let them stay here, right? You know they ain't coming back, but the spirits will hear you and they'll linger around, right? They'll linger around. Suffer them not to abide with mortals as teachers. Remember that mortals so love their dead kindred, they would even deprive them of heavenly education for the sake of having them around, just as the spirits of the recently dead so love their mortal kindred that they would seek no higher heaven than to linger around them on earth, which habit groweth upon them, so that in 2 or 3 generations, 66 to 99 years, so that in 2 or 3 generations they become druhas, worthless to themselves, knowing little of earth and less of heaven. End quote. Oahspe, Book of Fragapati, chapter 34, verse 17. Not only are the neophytes in these upper kingdoms prohibited from such earthside forays, but a similar prohibition restrains more advanced angels. Even guardian angels are not allowed to return to mortals individually, but only in phalanxes of millions or groups of millions. Quote, nor shall ye ever make yourself known to him. And square box parentheses after neither shall you ever make yourselves known to him is talking about their mortal protege. Nor shall ye ever make yourselves known to him, mortal protege, end quote. Oahspe, Bond's Book of Praise, chapter 39, verse 38. Guiding him only indirectly by such gentle means as dreams, inspirations, and visions. Quote, thy God cometh not as an individual, neither do my lords nor holy angels, but they come in legions of thousands and millions. End quote. Oahspe, Book of Discipline, chapter 3, verse 15. Quote, the lower heavens of today are full of spirits informing poor, deluded mediums that they are Christ, God, Confucius, Shakespeare, Washington, Lincoln, or any other person who commands the respect of men. End quote. Wing Anderson, 7 years that changed the world. Okay, we're going to keep going to the end of the chapter. We're almost done. Page 129. Likewise comes the sage advice of those who have learned, usually the hard way, to disregard, quote, spirit guides, end quote, and other pretenders masquerading as superior intelligences, so-called ascended masters or ancient brotherhoods or benevolent higher self or wise beings from Sirius, all throw my BS meter into the red zone. And you hear some people talking about this, coming from Sirius and all. I had to look at all this stuff, put everything on the table. That one is close to the edge of the table so it can go right into the trash can so I can set it on fire. Listen. Likewise comes the sage advice of those who have learned, usually the hard way, to disregard, quote, spirit guides, end quote, and other pretenders masquerading as superior intelligences, so-called ascended masters or ancient brotherhoods or benevolent higher self or wise beings from Sirius, and Sirius is Sirius, or wise beings from Sirius, all throw my BS meter into the red zone. These, quote, hyenas, end quote, or spiritual phonies were the bane of the early spirit circles. Quote, this also happens to many. They shall imagine themselves controlled by certain angels when in fact it is only their own spirit eliminated from the corporal senses. End quote. Howard, 1971, page 136. That says that, listen, this also happens to many. They shall imagine themselves controlled by certain angels when in fact it is only their own spirit eliminated from the corporal senses. End quote. Howard, 1971, page 136. Right? You've been put in the sunken place, buddy. We have been advised many times to beware of spirits claiming such high estates. Quote, few evolved spirits visit the earth. It is simply unwise to attract any discarnate spirit to you. End quote. Maury, 1988, page 63 and 131. And this is a bullet point, and that was the first point. There's 4 of them. The second one is, quote, most otherworldly manifestations proceed from a low order of spirits who hover near the earth's sphere. End quote. William Stanton, the great medium, in his notebook, December 1872. The third one, quote, mediumship merely invites earthbound spirits. End quote. Fisher, 2001, page 276. So Miss Barbara reading her crystal ball. It ain't coming from nobody with a higher light connected with the keynote, the creator. It's earthbound spirit. Somebody from the Hada region is talking through them. And of course, they can absolutely give you true information, right? But don't even start. Just don't. Mediumship merely invites earthbound spirits. Fisher 2001, page 276. And the last bullet point, quote, the chances against genuine communication are 10 to 1. It is wise and sane not to make the attempt, end quote. H. Smith, 1919. Frankly, those excarnates most eager to communicate with the living are usually the least informed, least mature, occupying merely the first rung in the vast firmament. Quote, and it has been shown that the spirits of the dead possess, for a long period of time, the same characteristics and prejudices as when in mortality, and since there is neither harmony nor community of life among mortals, neither is there harmony nor community of life among the angels who manifest to these mortals. For these angels teach one doctrine through one prophet and another doctrine through another prophet. And it came to pass that the wiser, better angels, weary of the wrangling and deceit of these self-serving Esians, departed away to inhabit a heavenly region by themselves. And this was the beginning of the second resurrection. End quote. Oahspe, Book of Discipline, chapter 2, verses 11 through 12. These deceivers are known to build up their following among mortals by flattery, either by professing great names like Jean Dixon, who told her biographer that, quote, the same spirit that worked through Isaiah and John the Baptist also works through me, end quote. Nor Borgen, 1976, page 114, or by pandering to their host's earthly desires for profit or war or marriage or any worldly ambition whatsoever. Quote, and we came up out of the first resurrection, which may be likened to a great medley, a noise, a confusion of a mighty multitude, and covenanted to make ourselves orderly, a unit in growth and development, so that the place of the second resurrection would do nothing in common with the first. End quote. Oahspe, Book of Discipline, chapter 3, verse 2. We need only focus on the words unit and growth, meaning collaboration, to understand the power of the second resurrection and why it was called organic. And why it is called organic. One dreamer carried aloft until the, quote, earth and the physical realm seemed insignificant, a speck of sand, end quote, found herself in, quote, a very expansive place, end quote, where an ineffable unity bonded, quote, thousands of entities together. We were all one, yet each of us was separate, end quote. It is here in the second resurrection that harmony, alliance, and belongingness truly come alive. And this makes me think about the law of one. Remember, we talked about it. I even shared the stuff for the law of one, the raw contact, right? So I think the raw contacts comes from those from the second heaven, right? Listen. We need only focus on the words unit and growth, meaning collaboration, to understand the power of the second resurrection and why it is called organic. The one dreamer carried aloft until the earth and the physical realm seemed insignificant, a speck of sand, found herself in a very expansive place where an ineffable unity bonded thousands of entities together. We were all one, yet each of us was separate. It is here in the second resurrection that harmony, alliance, and belongingness truly come alive. Quote, they apply themselves not to isolated developments, but to affiliation, end quote. Oahspe, Book of Judgment, chapter 24, verse 10. Contrast this with the first resurrection of individual striving. Quote, Every spirit in these lower heavens hath a philosophy of his own. End quote. Oahspe, Book of Patty, chapter 31, verse 7. We almost done. My mouth is so dry. Hold on. Okay. Y'all read the raw contact? The raw, R-A, contact. People that just glance at it, they think raw, false god, raw. No, raw in this, the raw contact was something that actually happened in the 1970s when it happened, where Ra was a group of beings from another density or another heaven, what we like to say, another heaven, who spoke to this group of 3 people about different things going on in the world. And they even asked about Oahspe, and they said, well, who did Oahspe come from? It was penned. If you go in there, you can see it. If you listen to it, if you got the book, you can kind of flip through it. I got all of it. I got actually 2 collections of them. I have like the anniversary collection that comes in this pretty case, and then I got the original one, and it's like light blue. And but anyway, I thought there was a difference, and it's a little bit more information in the anniversary one than it is from the first printed version. It's like revised and all that good stuff. But yeah, and they have actually on Audible, YouTube, you hear the original recordings, and there's like these long pauses. That's what I came across first. And if you can get through the long pauses between the communication, you'll be all right. But sometimes I tend to get a little impatient. I'm like, now I know somebody has updated this, since this, and kind of speed this up. And I found it. I found it on Audible, and it's like a smooth flow. It removed all those pauses, and it just, somebody else was reading through it, what happened, the questions and the answers and all the notes and all that stuff. But also in that book, it has pictures of the different sessions of contact and all that good stuff. But they mentioned Oahspe. They asked them about Oahspe, and the response that came back from Ra, which is the group that was speaking to them, they said that Oahspe came from, just some of it came from those who are in a higher light with the Creator. It's true information. And they asked about another one. They said that comes from another group who's like, they kind of got off a little bit. And which one was that? I want to say that was I got it. I haven't read it yet, so I'm not sure what's in. I want to say it was Urantia. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I got to pull it back up. But they asked about that one and another one. But the only one that they said came from like the higher light was Oahspe, right? And I thought that was really interesting, right? So, but just in case you didn't know, if you want to look into it, you have book 1 and 2. It's 4 of them.
Fun fact, smoking weed gives men boobs. And lavender lotion can also cause production of boobs on babies. So don't use that nor smoke weed. I just figured that out. A lot of stuff just out of nowhere Instagram just be telling you. And it was an old white guy telling you like how if you have too much estrogen and stuff. And he said, yes, smoke, like for real.
Why y'all listen to his commercial?
No, for real, like, bro, smoking weed as a male creates man boobs. Like,
I don't know about all that, sir. Listen.
I'm telling you know what?
Hold on, I'm gonna get this for y'all. I'm gonna show y'all this.
Because that right there baffled me.
Mm-hmm.
Good thing I stopped smoking. Oh, what's good, homies? Where y'all been?
Okay, look. Oh boy.
Jesus Christ, I was like,
what you upside the mirror for that?
I be looking like a mess. Ugh. But I still look good.
Okay. All right, so this one was like the original printing, the Love one. And it's some really good stuff in here, right? You know, pick through it, listen to it, do your own research, right? You choose. Be able to separate, you know, truth from error. But I thought it was really good. I don't think it was time wasted by me actually listening to this, right? So it's actually this. All right, son, I love you. You have book, hold on, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You talking about Earth Raising?
Oh, where's my book 1? Hold on. Oh, this is book 1. It just say raw material. Okay, so this is book 1. It was.
Well, you told them about Earth rising her vibration?
No, they know about vibration and all that stuff.
I know.
Somewhat.
But did you tell them about Earth wanting to raise her vibration?
They know Earth wants to raise her vibration. This is why we're here today.
But do you know what that means? If she raises her vibration, anything that's unseen gets seen. So that realm that we think is also unseen is going to literally...
Yeah, I believe that. Listen.
Yo.
Okay, look. And some stuff that people be posting online is real stuff that happens. Some people just like, oh, that was Photoshop. Not everything.
Yeah, no, I know.
Elijah said,
Photoshop
peace,
looks
Brother
like.
Jeremiah. Shebrew said, shalom, Jeremiah.
Oh, shalom, shalom. How y'all been? Seem like y'all day going swellingly. I mean, mine is.
Okay, so this is like the original one, right? The raw material, right? But I got to get the hardbacks just in case something happened with the Audible and stuff, so I can, reference. But this was the anniversary one, the 40th anniversary box set, right? Same information, but there are a few updates in here. I'm not telling y'all to go get this stuff. I'm just showing you, right? And here is how you pronounce it, Urantia. I haven't gone through it yet, but I have it. I got so many materials that I have yet to go through. Because everything is on the table. We got to go through everything. We got to pull out the truth, separate the error, Let me put it back.
Well, I know
But then, right then when we read that made me think about this and identifying who Ra was and what level of heaven they residing on.
No.
Yeah.
I know this is gonna be kind of extra to do, but I think when it comes to your videos, I think you should implement like a timestamp type of thing. But like when you're editing, when you're about to do an edit, make sure you have something you put up so when you're skimming through to know where to stop.
You want to do my timestamps in the videos? Because I got like 100 million billion things that I be doing.
I mean, if it was from here...
I can barely keep up with making my thumbnails every day, putting them on the video.
If it's from here and going forward, I just need you to like to put up something so it signifies, all right, this is the start of this book.
Yeah.
Boom. Then that book gets labeled.
You want to do
on the
that?
next.
You want to do that?
I mean, it would be nice to learn that skill, so I would not know.
Well, you know what? Go to my videos. Put the titles this way to start. That would be absolutely amazing. I would like that. But I don't have time to do that right now. But you can do it since you keep telling me to do it. Okay, let's go back. I study a lot of stuff, right? I be trying to bring everything together, right? Some stuff that I didn't put up on the shelf, and it's just like waiting for me to come back to, right? So, and it will. Okay, so let's go back here. All right. What time we at? An hour and 28 minutes. We almost done with this chapter. We're gonna finish this. We got 1, 2, probably like 3 full pages left. And maybe like 2.5. Okay. The next to the last paragraph on page 130. Quote, in the after death, end quote, communicated F.W.H. Myers X. Remember when it has X at the end or X for the last name, that this means that this particular person has already passed on into the spirit world. And so they're talking to the actual spirit, right? Because they can pass information. If you tuned in, you can get the information, right? And, quote, in the after death, end quote, communicated F.W.H. Myers X. Quote, hold on. Yeah, quote, we become more and more aware of this group soul, group S-O-U-L, like group soul, like Ra is a group soul. They're one. They refer to themselves as one, but it's a group of them. Call us Ra, right? Not to be confused with the false god Ra and all that stuff, right? Quote, we become more and more aware of this group soul as we make progress, end quote. Having left personal desires behind, it is natural to attune to each other. Hold on.
Remember I told you Ra and all them guys? Ra, Cyrus, and all that, they actually time.
Oh, okay, hold on. What, Jeremiah?
What if I said Ra and all of them? People say, oh, they were gods, this and that, they worship. What if I told you, what if those is actually humans that traveled back in time and helped them build the pyramids? These are humans, not millions, but hundreds of thousands of years ahead of us. And that mastered this thing called time travel. Because don't forget, when we get to that point, time is nothing but a slate.
Right, I know. See, we ain't gotten into time travel and stuff, right? We ain't gotten into all that yet. I ain't even really studied that for real, Jeremiah. Look, you so much far ahead of me with different stuff. I don't know. I'm still like, wait a minute, I don't know. You sound kind of fishy to me.
It pieces itself together.
Okay, you gotta wait till I catch up with you. All right. Listen.
What did I come in for?
Having left personal desires behind, it is natural to attune to each other. Thought alone, so fine are these ethers, serves as a universal language. There is no possibility of misunderstanding. One breathes the air of sympathy and rapport. No longer concerned with their own salvation, they are already saved by their mutual work of upliftment. Quote, how shall the second resurrection give up its mysteries? How can a man describe 1,000,000 men and women and children existing in harmony? End quote. Oahspe, Book of Osiris, chapter 7, verse 2. And you can kind of see this when you read through Black Root Science as you get further towards the back when they talk about the harmony of the communities being like a single person. Even so much so that they are well developed to where they can just use their thoughts. Like you get so advanced to where by your thoughts, you can cause things to happen. And being in tune with the whole community, being able to do that. That was really interesting in that.
That's what they're trying to do now.
Yeah.
Steer, him?
Greer. You combine his first and last name,
Yeah.
Dr. Stephen Greer.
Yes, Dr. Stephen Greer. So if y'all didn't know, if 1% of people in here change and try to manifest a certain energy, it can influence the rest of the things. Because the beautiful thing about the universe is everything is intertwined. Professor,
come get inside of the camera and say that. He over here like, if we can do this, and according to this, go ahead, say that.
All right, since everything is intertwined, right? Dr. Stephen Greer, what he's trying to do is he's trying to get 1%, so that's 75 million people, and the U.S. have over 300 something million, like 325 million.
I don't know the numbers.
If we can get 75 million to, what do you say, like a CE5, or to actually change their state of mind and want to be peaceful and go down that route and like not being this.
So getting everybody on the same page of thought
like
to where,
on one thought. If they can do that, it can change the rest of the 99% of human beings. Like they don't even have to know what's going on. It just changes the energy.
Okay, so just kind of repeat what he said. He was saying that Dr. Stephen Greer was saying that if you could just get a certain group of people, just what you say, like what percent of the population?
1%. That's 75 million people.
He said just 1% of the population just to come together and have like thoughts or whatever. That just by the sheer energy of those who have come together, it can change the rest of the population.
And now the world's population is 70. The reported of everybody that they reported is 8 billion. So 75 million out of 8 billion. That's a real small number.
That's what they say. The population of what? The United States?
No, of the whole world.
Of the whole world.
Yeah.
Just.
That's
8
reported.
billion.
That's 8 billion. That's the report. It's a small number, but 75 out of that, 75 is that 1% of 8 billion, and this was like 2-something years ago. So the population is like.
Okay. I don't know about the numbers, but he said it right. He said Elijah said that's on the Georgia Guidestone. You read the Georgia Guidestone? I forgot what they said. But Elijah said it's on the Georgia Guidestone. Jamil was like, okay, Jeremiah, 1%, 75 billion. Did you say 75 billion? 75 million. 75 million. Me, I read that wrong. You did. You wrote 75 million. I ain't the math guru here. Uncle JB Grand Rising. Haven't heard the Book of Urantia since I picked my copy in the late 80s. Girl, look, yeah, I ain't even opened it up. I mean, I got it and I like flipped through it, and then I just put it back in its little case and stuck it back up there. I was like, I'm gonna get to you. I got other stuff open right now, right? So, all right, y'all, let's finish this. The bottom page 130. How shall the second resurrection give up its mysteries? How can a man describe 1,000,000 men and women and children existing in harmony? End quote. Oahspe, Book of Osiris, chapter 7, verse 2. Each contributing his unique talent to the greater whole. Spirits who have quit their old haunts and joined organic associations, being enlisted in companies either for labor or for receiving heavenly instruction, shall be known as being in the second resurrection. Quote, but such spirits have attained to Etherian grades, having ascended beyond atmosphere into the Etherian worlds, shall be known as being in the third resurrection. End quote. I'm going to read that again. Get that, Jamal. The other door. Let me read that again. Spirits who have quit their old haunts and joined organic associations, being enlisted in companies, either for labor or for receiving heavenly instruction, shall be known as being in the second resurrection. Quote, but such spirits as have attained to Etherian grades, having ascended beyond atmosphere into the Etherian worlds, shall be known as being in the third resurrection. End quote. Oahspe, Book of Leka, chapter 14, verse 8. Okay, so when you get out of here, that's considered third resurrection and above, right? So when you go into Etheria, that's third resurrection. Okay. Quote, God said, now, behold, O man, I have declared my first and second resurrections to you, and in like manner is the third resurrection, but still higher, and so on are all the heavens higher and higher, until the inhabitants of them become very lords and gods. End quote. Oahspe, Book of Judgment, chapter 32, verse 1. So you keep going until you develop into lords and then gods, right? And then after gods, then you just go higher, right? Because that ain't the highest one. You got Orion chiefs, Nirvanian chiefs, and all of that stuff. The third resurrection begins the emancipation of the human soul, and it leads to nirvana. Quote, I come to prove three worlds to men. First, the third in its fullness. Second, the intermediate world of spirits, where all shall sojourn for a season. And third, the Nirvanian worlds beyond Chinvat, where for the pure and wise, unending paradise awaits. End quote. Oahspe, First Book of God, chapter 17, verse 23. And so let's go back to page 131. There's this symbol right here, like the cross in a circle between two horizontal lines, right? And that is figure 5.8, and that's the sign of nirvana. Sakya, also known as Buddha, said, quote, the spirits of the lower heavens, like mortals, have multitudes of doctrines, and for the most part, they know nothing of the higher heavens. Nirvana, which I proclaim to you, hold on. I read it a little too slow. Quote, the spirits of the lower heavens, like mortals, have multitudes of doctrines, and for the most part, they know nothing of the higher heaven, nirvana, which I proclaim to you. End quote. Oahspe, God's Book of Esther, chapter 30, verse 13. One of the one-time honored terms carefully preserved by the Sanskrit sages, nirvana, designs the higher heavens in Ethera, headquarters of the gods and goddesses of endless light. Okay, so let me reread this last sentence. The third resurrection begins the emancipation of the human soul, and it leads to nirvana. Quote, I come to prove three worlds to men. First, the earth in its fullness. Second, the intermediate world of spirits, where all shall sojourn for a season. And third, the Nirvanian worlds beyond Chinvat, where, for the pure and wise, unending paradise awaits. End quote. Oahspe, First Book of God, chapter 17, verse 23. Beyond the earth and its moon, the frontier known as Chinvat, lies Nirvana in the Orion realms, populated by all who are gentle and good. It encompasses countless domains with names like Oahspe, which means world of shining waters, and it involves some awesome projects such as making roadways for corporal stars, which labor might employ 90 billion Nirvanians for thousands of years. To him who has attained nirvana, the past as well as things to come are as an open book. For here one masters attunement with the magnitude of worlds, which condition awaits all men. Kind of like what we read yesterday when Creator was saying that my children can hear, like my gods and goddesses can hear millions of voices intelligently, all at the same time, and are able to answer them all intelligently, one by one. It's like that.
In every plane simultaneously.
Hold on. First time, shalom, shalom. Hold on.
I think that's the consciousness.
Hold on.
The consciousness they're trying to get to.
Jamia said, I wonder if that can work for smaller communities and everyone comes together for a cause. But now I'm thinking about who would be answering what we want or need. Listen, I think it would work if you just think about it, right? Shucks, you can just think about that on a personal level, right? When you have your mind set to do something, right? Like say you for lack of better words, once you start searching for the answers for something, that the answers start coming to you in one way or another. It's like your energy is searching for answers. Like the energy that you put out is the energy that you attract to yourself. So if you like always a positive person, you get positive energy. You always run into the most positive people. The best things happen to you, right? But if you want like a negative vibration, wavelength, things going from bad to worse, you can't win for losing, right? Like we was talking about yesterday. So I'm guessing it will work the same way. Like this is what I understand is to be when you come together, especially in a group, and imagine you have that power with multiple people coming together with one mindset to do something or to accomplish something, right? Or trying to find the answers to something. It's not necessarily that God will be answering or whatever, but they very well could be in the response of other things coming to you, right? People, oh, look what I found. Hold on, add this. Okay, so you know how I was looking for this? I forgot we was looking for this, but when I went over here to get this that we was looking for last week was over here too. So all of this stuff, it's like you draw in the energy that we reproduce and produce. It draws those like things to us, and like the answers that we're searching for is searching for us. That's like the best way I can describe that, and from my own personal experience. And that's what she said. She was responding to Jeremiah's statement about the 1%. So I believe that I do believe that 1% can get shucks. They say 1% of the world, 1% of the population run the world anyway, right? They like control everything. In a way, I believe that. I really do, because they seem to be able to hold the most sway, so to speak, in a way, when it comes to finances at the moment, right? We should be changing that, right? We're gonna shift that momentum. And we're gonna balance things out. Everything that's upside down, we should be flipping back right side up, right? Okay. First time greetings from Chicago, fam. Sending much love and respect to the Faithist family. Elijah said, I know a group of people who are like Faithists. I've offered the Oahspe to them, but they haven't gotten into it. They're trying to build an Essene community. Well, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, that is. Okay. Oahspe College University, I figured this out on my own. The answer comes to me when I search for it instead of asking God that wants a servitude. True. Yep, exactly what we just said, right? When you start looking for it, what you're looking for begins looking for you, right? It's just the way, if you want to call them laws of the universe, energy, vibration, that's the way it's set up, right? You got to get on that same wavelength. Like you got to, if you want to, I was going to use Walmart, but if you want to get to the store, you got to get on the road where the store is found, and eventually it'll come. What you're looking for will see you too, and you come to you meet. You'll find what you're looking for. Okay, listen. Page 132. I'm gonna read this little paragraph again. Beyond the earth and its moon, we literally almost done. It's like 2 paragraphs left, and we're done, and with a couple other quotes around it. Beyond the earth and its moon, the frontier known as Chinvat lies nirvana. In the, what? Hold on. Beyond the earth and its moon, the frontier known as Chinvat, lies nirvana in the Orion fields, populated by all who are gentle and good. It encompasses countless dominions with names like Oahspe, World of Shining Waters, and it involves awesome projects such as making roadways for corporal stars, which might employ 90 billion Nirvanians for thousands of years. To him who has attained nirvana, the past as well as things to come are as an open book. For here, one masters attunement with the magnitude of worlds, which condition awaits all men. Quote, the day will not be long when you too will be in our realm of spirit and become a co-worker with us, watching the antics of earth life from our side of the great veil you call death, end quote. A communication received by the Oahspe, quote, special session, end quote.
Changing her energies. That's just Earth changing her energies.
Yeah, I agree with that. The day will come when we will walk these skies, adventuring among their plains and high arches and heavenly caverns amid Orion fields and mountains and crystal foundations, the great visiting places of millions of gods and goddesses, landscapes with bridges and high clefts and seas where course 1,000 million ships of light, filled also with farms and roads and cities and valleys, endless places of matchless beauty, ripen unto the boundless, everlasting creator of all. Enlightenment awaits every soul. Wisdom came to Bucky Fuller upon receiving news of a friend's death. He declared, quote, whatever life may be, it is not physical. I assume all humans to be immortal, end quote. He comforted the bereaved, telling them that the news of the deceased, quote, being no longer temporarily available, did not alter any sense of their absolute livingness. I go right on seeing them. There they are, end quote. Zone 2001, page 82. And here is the end of the chapter, and it ends with a quote from Walt Whitman. Quote, if all came but to ashes of dung, then allurum, for we are betrayed. Do you think I could walk pleasantly and well suited toward annihilation? I swear I think now that everything without exception has an eternal soul. I swear I think there is nothing but immortality, that the exquisite scheme is for it, and all preparation is for it, and life and materials are all together for it, end quote. Walt Whitman's From, quote, To Think of Time, end quote. And that, my beautiful people, is the end of chapter 6, I Shall Walk the Sky. That was a really good chapter. 33. All right, son. I'll write my little notes here. Okay. All right, beautiful people. So that is it for today. I hope y'all enjoyed the reading. Let's see. Hold on. Yeah, vibration frequency. Jamil, you was talking to Elijah. Let's read what you said. Maybe after you finish the Holy Megillah, depending on how it vibrates your understanding, it may be a book to share with them also. Yeah, I agree with that. Oahspe College University, what does Megillah mean? That's a good question. Let me see. No, I don't know if they give. Megillah, look, I want to say, don't quote me. Hold on.
Also finding out soy is really bad for you.
I saw. I know I read it before. Hold on. I thought I saw it somewhere. Maybe. Hey, babe.
What up, sugar? Jeremiah, what's going on?
Listen. Oh no, that's her Azina mean gift here.
I'll take a copy with some oil for that.
I thought I saw.
You did? When did it go off?
You hold on.
Yeah.
You know what? I saw it somewhere, y'all.
Hold on. No, is it the check engine or is it the oil?
And I saw it somewhere. Truth, whole matter, hidden. Megillah means hidden scrolls from what you found out. Whole understanding. It could, but I know it's in here somewhere.
I don't think it's the one. I gotta get the wire.
But yeah, it's a long. It encompasses all of that. So we'll go with that for now. When I come across it, I'll remember to share it. Because when I see it, I'm going to remember the question. I'm like, oh, y'all remember we was looking for... Oh, but here, listen. Also in the back of this, it talks about... Y'all know how I got this thing about Apostle Paul and his shenanigans, right? There's a section in here on Apostle Paul's shenanigans. And some of the stuff he was doing because they believe Apostle Paul was on shenanigans too. But another portion. So remember, this is something else I want to show. Remember at the beginning where I was telling y'all about how this talks about, and babe, I promise you I'm not reading this because you came down here. I'm following this point up with what I was sharing with y'all from page 45 in a Nazarene book of Genesis on page 45. Yeah, listen. No, like you literally came down here. Listen. Okay, so remember it starts with chapter 8 and it's on page 46 and 47, that little snippet that I shared with y'all. But back here in the expanded footnotes, they give a section. That's what I wanted to read. I highlighted it. So it's in the expanded footnote. You know what? I'm not even sure if now that I think about it, I don't think the footnotes are included in the electronic version. I gotta double check it, but I'm almost sure that it doesn't. But back here in the back, in the expanded footnotes on page 928, it says, and it gives you some bullet points of what it's talking about, and it goes a little bit more into detail about meat eating. Listen, expanded footnote, the Ebonite Clementine text. Okay, so number 3 on page 928, it says meat, and it's in bold letters. Meat eating is linked with demonic possession. In the Clementine text, Peter asserts that fallen angels descended to the earth and mated with humans. He declares that these fallen angels taught mankind to kill and eat animals. He furthermore instructs that the killings and eating of animals filled the air with noxious vapors, which caused mankind to fall into denser bodies and lose health and longevity. He teaches that the demons did this on purpose so as to make humans vibrate at a dense enough frequency that disembodied demons can pierce our energy fields and enter our bodies. Then, according to Peter, they attach themselves to your soul and make suggestions that you believe are from your own mind. Peter even teaches that these demons attempt to influence human behavior in such a way as to increase the likelihood of wars, violence, and crime. This is what, like the mark of Cain, right? Peter even teaches that these demons attempt to influence human behavior in such a way as to increase the likelihood of wars, violence, and crime because they feed off of the negative energy. This attempt to influence human behavior, Peter says, includes attempts to influence politics, business, and religion. Fortunately, according to Peter, these demonic entities are unable to live within a body of a human who does not eat meat, as the vibratory frequency of a vegetarian which is the natural vibratory frequency of the human being, is too strong to pierce and gain entry and too intense for a demon to live within. Which will also represent how sometimes you see in movies when you showing the light that the demons, they squirm and get out of here. Vampires don't like the light, right? It's too light because they vibrate at a really, really dense frequency, which is darkness, all right? And when you consume it, you cause your light to be snuffed out. Peter even links the demon-inspired fall into meat eating with early human cannibalism. Remember the question you asked Jamia last week, right? Listen, Peter even links the demon-inspired fall into meat eating with early human cannibalism. Hold on. What was Jamia's question from last week? Hold on. Listen, Jamia. Jamia's question last Saturday, November the 19th. She said, no, she asked, I responded to it, but her question she asked last Friday, November the 18th. She said, do y'all think cannibalism comes from the mixing of the human races, right? So it gave a little bit of that information when we started reading the first book of the First Lords, right? And it got into Cain and Abel and the slaughtering and all of this stuff. And of course, it talked a little bit about the mixing of the races and with the angels and the humans and reproduced in the line of Cain, mixing of the races, the darkness passed on, cannibalism, eating of the flesh. All of this stuff is linking together. And this is found in the expanded footnotes in the Holy Megillah, right? Listen. Peter even links the demon-inspired fall into meat eating with early human cannibalism. Quote, these bastard men tasted also human flesh, for it was not a long step to the eating of flesh like their own, having first tasted it in other forms. End quote. All of the above is in harmony with what is taught in the Holy Megillah, the Nazarene Bible of the Essene Way. But as stated previously, while Peter's schism away from the Nazarene form of Christianity preserved the vegetarian doctrine, he completely abandoned other important Nazarene teachings, especially the equality of women and the divine feminine. Equally clearly, in breaking with the Nazarenes over the issue of the divine feminine, Peter agreed to keep silent about the Nazarene scriptures, confining his scriptural arguments to the Torah. This silence on the Nazarene scriptures by mainstream Jews who accepted Yeshua as Messiah, but did not fully accept the Nazarene way, which was clearly the case with Peter, was insisted upon by Yeshua and the Nazarene priesthood. Yeshua and the Nazarene priesthood recognized that Yeshua, though a Nazarene, would be recognized as Messiah by many mainstream Jews, and that those Jews would interpret him through their own understandings and scriptures, which is how all of this got chopped and screwed in the New Testament, and then removing half the stuff that should have been shared or passed down. Both Peter and Paul, though both abandoned key elements of the Nazarene doctrine, were banned from mentioning Nazarene scriptures in public, nevertheless helped a form of Christianity that the masses could accept and spread over the world. Now that this has occurred and millions of people the world over love and worship Yeshua, the world may be better prepared to receive his second coming. For in truth, even the watered-down Christianity of Peter and Paul is a much higher form of religion than that of mainstream Judaism. That is because the mainstream New Testament is a much higher vibratory frequency than that of mainstream Torah. Thus, the schisms of Peter and Paul were likely predicted by Yeshua, who knew that they would serve a good purpose in the end. By elevating the religion of the masses who are not yet ready for the full gospel, right? So you got to read through this and kind of go through what they're saying, right? Remember, separate truth from error, but it helps you we're understanding some things that we're seeing like a consistent thread through some of the things that we're going through, right? So keep everything on the table, y'all. Let's just go through it, right? All right, so yeah, but that's what I wanted to, the other portion about the meat eating from the footnotes and stuff that's there, right? So, you know, go through it, read it, y'all, until we can, we'll just read it and we'll talk about it, right? As we line it up with some of the other things that we're learning in our path of growth, if you want to say that. All right, beautiful people, that's it. Father, we thank you for even more enlightenment, for higher lights constantly being poured out upon us daily. All right, beautiful people, that is it. Who is this? Thank y'all for deleting this. I'm about to block them. Hidden, thank you. We ain't had nobody coming here with shenanigans, posting porn links and crap.
Huh?
Hold on. Yeah. People get bored and they just want to spam people stuff.
They got all other sites to go do.
You know, right? Everybody. They just
bring discord.
I know.
That's the reason for it. Bring confusion.
I'm gonna make sure this person goes to the YouTube hell knot.
Oh, wow.
So they can't come back in here. Hold on. All right, beautiful people. That's it. I love y'all. See Mr. Murphy? Y'all ain't seen his handsome face in a while, looking like a lion. All right, beautiful people. I love y'all. I will see y'all back here tomorrow morning, bright and early, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace.